Greetings all, thedvsmonkey here. Today is well, I mean, it's not really a different video, but it's a video that someone sort of suggested. And what they had said was that they hadn't seen anybody do any nighttime walking footage where they used Catalyst Browser to fix the stabilization. Always up for a challenge. Last night I decided that I would go outside when it got dark and get some footage and throw it in the Catalyst Browser and see what happens. A couple of things here. So this is the final setup. Well, I'm going to stop saying final setup. This is the current setup of the ZV1, and you can see I have the Sony wide-angle lens, and then the next little ring in is the UV filter, and then on top of that one is the variable ND filter. So I'm going to pretty much keep it this way for now because it suits pretty much most of the way that I shoot and the things that I'm shooting, which is basically just me. And it's always still bright enough outside that the ND filter doesn't make much of a difference if I put it at its minimum. And if it is, I could just unscrew it, no big deal. I still want to have protection over that wide-angle lens, which I now consider the lens of the camera. I'm going to keep it on the Bluetooth grip, and I'm going to continue to use the internal mics because everything works great. So here's what I found. I went outside last night. It wasn't quite totally dark out, but it was beyond dusk, and I thought, okay, I'll run outside because it's not raining and I'll take some footage. So I went outside on my little road here and I ran back and forth. I mean, the street lights were on and everything, so I thought it would be okay. I brought it inside and saw that the camera had compensated for how growingly dark it was, and it made it look like it was daytime almost. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't think that that's really going to show, you know, what this person's asking me to do. So I went back inside and I dicked around for a little while and I waited until it actually got dark, which didn't take long. It was only like a half an hour later, and I went back outside and I just realized that it had started raining. So I did a real quick back and forth, like a minute worth of footage, and that's what I'm going to show you now. Keep in mind that at that point now, it was so dark, and I didn't have the ND filter on at that point because I thought, okay, well, it is too dark now to use that. So I unscrewed it and I went out. So the camera took over. I just had it in aperture priority, and I could see that it was maxing out at ISO 6400, which is what would be logical for the camera to do. When I brought it back in and I started looking at it, of course, it looks like crap because I wasn't using any additional lighting. I didn't change anything. I kept the shutter speed at 1/50th because, you know, I was shooting in 24 frames a second. Probably not the best idea. I probably should have jacked that up. But you're still going to get the idea. I took this, I put it into Catalyst Browse, and I had the software do its stabilization. Didn't take that long this time, but it's only 60 seconds worth of footage, and it's completely unusable. It adds so many warpy, artifacty things into the footage that it is absolutely unusable unless you're showing somebody how unusable it is. I would think that if there were different lighting and I had changed the settings maybe and done like crazy shutter speeds, you know, like they say, jack up the shutter speed, but then you lose the blur, the natural blur and all that stuff. So I think no matter how you look at it, it's just not right. It just isn't going to look right. And as you can see from this footage, it does not look right. I mean, you can literally see warpy shit around my head. You can see all the warpy shit with all the trees and the clouds and everything. Again, the sky wasn't completely dark at that point, but I don't think it would have gotten any better because then it would have been even darker out. And the camera just, it still wasn't going to do anything. Now, would this change if you were using a different camera? You know, maybe the full frame camera, and you were using a different shutter speed and a different lens and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, maybe, and all that kind of stuff. But I think the bottom line is that you're going to have to be very prepared to capture the footage that you want to capture given those circumstances and you know, the darkness and whatever. And it'll enter into it a little bit more scientifically. Again, from the time that I did the first shots to going back outside, like it was like 20 minutes, a half an hour later, again, the weather changed like that, and all of a sudden, instead of it being like a normal sky, and I'm thinking, okay, the rain's done, to it raining made a big difference. So, you know, I just ran through and did it. My bottom line is that Catalyst Browse, once again, is not the right tool for this job. I would have gotten, I think, better footage had I just put it on active stabilization and did my walk and so on and so forth. But that's why we do tests like this. So I hope this helped you out. I hope that you can see that you really have to think about all the settings and your surroundings and all that kind of stuff. You really need to know your gear so that you can set it properly and hope that you can get the kind of footage that you're looking for. But once again, I don't think Catalyst Browse is the tool for the job. Try to get it all on camera. And that's it. That's all I've got for you today. Really quick video just because somebody asked me this. I'm in the middle of doing laundry, I'm hungry, so on and so forth, so I wanted to make this quick. That's all I've got. If you have any questions or anything like that, or comments, absolutely drop them in the comments down below. If you have anything else you'd like me to try, keep in mind, I've got this Sony ZV1, the Sony a6600, and a Sony a7 III, in addition to a GoPro Hero 8, but who hasn't seen that played out? Let me know if it's something that I can do. Maybe I'll give it a whirl, maybe not. We'll see. But as always, thanks for joining me. Like, subscribe, and all that shit. And remember, kids, forward and up.